Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to the channel again. Uh, it's been an interesting week in New Zealand rugby, and I think yes, the Springboks are waiting for them in South Africa. It's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks to come. So why am I making this video? Well, I think why the video's title is why Ian Foster's taken the biggest gamble of his life. Um, we've all seen the changes. Jason Ryan being brought in, Brad Moore and John Plumtree fired. A lot of angst and a lot of really worry in New Zealand rugby circles that are they doing the right thing? Is this the right coach? Is it the right captain? After there's a lot of introspection and soul searching after losing to Ireland, and that's understandable. The Irish were the better team in the Test series. Let's be very honest. They dominated the first Test and won the second and third quite healthily. So I think there's reason for angst in New Zealand rugby. But, and that's a big but, there's a lot of decisions that can be taken in times like this, and there's a lot of coaches who feel that they deserve another shot. They know what they're doing and they want to do it right. And the New Zealand Rugby Union has never really been wanted to sort of jump to changes. It's interesting though, by firing two very accomplished coaches in John Plumtree and Brad Moore, they've almost sort of made them the scapegoats for that Ireland series, which I think is rather unfair. The forwards, the New Zealand forwards went great, but I mean, Plum is we all know him here in South Africa very well from his days at the Sharks. So he's an exceptional coach as well. Brad Moore, his time at Swansea, I think it was Swansea, it was Scarlet, sorry, and his time before that at the Crusaders as a skills or backline coach. Yeah, he's really made an impression for himself. So they're both very good coaches. So to see them so dispatched so easily is a bit of a worry. I think one of the big things, though, is that somebody had to take the blame. And I suppose, if you're not going to fire the head coach, who are you going to fire? So they had to do that. We've seen other teams try and do that. Some people quip that Eddie Jones seems to do that, changes assistants all the time, and he sort of gets away with everything. So, I'm not sure if Ian Foster's got away scot-free. But I think there's a lot of pressure on him. The one thing he has done, though, by doing that, though, is place a lot more pressure on himself, because this is the gamble that's supposed to get New Zealand rugby right for the next year. They brought in Jason Ryan, who's supposedly I'm not saying supposedly, he is a maul specialist. He apparently hasn't conceded a maul try in 5 years, and he's really one of the rising stars of New Zealand rugby. You still wonder what Razor has to do to get a look into that job. But I suppose if they're not going to fire Ian Foster, Razor's never going to be his assistant. But for Ian Foster, why this gamble is probably one of the biggest gambles he's ever taken. And my colleague Gavin Rich pointed that out in the column the other day, and I thought I should expand a bit about this. Is because he's now gambled his whole career on these one or two changes. He's gone now to say to the New Zealand public that this is the reason why we lost against Ireland. These are the guys we needed to change. There needs to be this sort of responsibility needs to change. And now that those guys are going, we're gonna right the ship. But what happens if it doesn't? What happens if the Springboks win both tests quite well? What happens if New Zealand rugby doesn't come back with a bang like we're all expecting? And I'm predicting it as well, that they'll stand up, they'll be a lot better side when they get to Nelspruit. But what happens then? Then Ian Foster sort of gambled away 2 tests, probably the Rugby Championship as well by that stage as well. And the All Blacks are ultra vulnerable by the time they end the Rugby Championship. I think there's a lot of teams who aren't seeing the aura of the All Blacks already that we've seen in the last couple of years. They're a far cry from, the black to black world champions, as they called themselves. They're really not looking like the right thing. And there's been questions about Ian Foster ever since he took the job. So this gamble better pay off for him, because otherwise there's going to be a lot of people in New Zealand paying for blood. There's going to be a lot of people looking for his head, and there's going to be a lot of people who are saying, I told you so, and sort of blaming the New Zealand Rugby Union, for not putting the trigger sooner. If it does work, great. The All Blacks are back. They definitely decide to be reckoned with. I still wouldn't make them World Cup favourites, just given the big draw they have with France in their pool, and then Ireland and South Africa, and one of them in the quarterfinals. But if they do come back and they do perform well, then Foster can say, look, I told you so. I knew there was only little tweaks I needed to make, etc. And it's all going to be fine. That first sort of half an hour of the test in Nelspruit, there will be fire and brimstone. But if the Boks are on their game, a good team will be able to take that sort of pressure and turn it around in their own favour. If it doesn't work, Foster's gambled a lot. He's gambled the reputations of two exceptional coaches away to try and save his own skin. Now, whether he took that decision or whether New Zealand Rugby took that decision, I think it doesn't really matter. You can blame who you will, or you can point the finger at who you will for those decisions. But now that they're taken, they better work. So if it doesn't work, that gamble could have been the biggest one of his coaching career. And as we've seen sometimes before, sometimes these gambles fail. So anyhow, that's just a couple of thoughts there. Tell me what you think. If you agree, if you don't agree, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, do all that stuff. And keep on watching. There'll be more rugby videos coming your way. Thanks.